right, so welcome everyone. First off, it's really funny. I need one person to tell me. Actually, I have a person in the room with me. Zora, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to assume that everyone can see my screen. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to Finishing the Start. I made this this little meeting for us folks. I'm going to assume that most of the people here are manifestors. If you're not a manifestor, you're still welcome. I'm so glad you're here because it's really important that we all know how to treat each other as manifestors. So even if you're another type, how to deal with manifestors. Also, some of this really applies to manifesting generators as well, and you'll see why as I get more into the presentation. Like I said, the format of this is I am going to present. It is going to be a little bit rapid fire. If you're taking notes, best of luck. But no, I'll try to slow it down if necessary. But what I really want to do is kind of get the message out, and then I want to open up the floor for everyone to have a really good discussion about, you know, manifestors, manifestor urges, and what we're really here to do. So you're in the right place. Again, if you're a manifestor, I'm going to say a lot of this applies to manifesting generators, but if you're any type and you really care about how you work with manifestors, thank you so much for being here, because it's kind of time for us to have this conversation, especially because, you know, our so-called not self is anger. And I'm going to tell you, y'all, I'm fired up. I'm mad as hell. And I can't take it anymore. So this is partly why I made this presentation. Like, you know, literally our anger sometimes is the impetus for us to create things. And so here I am creating something out of pure anger, like spite. So just a quick introduction. Who are ManiSisters? That's me on the left. My name is Adrienne Roach. I'm the creator of ManiSisters. ManiSisters kind of started out as a place for manifestor women to learn more about human design. It's kind of evolved since then, and for good reason, because you know, it just basically became apparent that not just manifestors need a safe place to learn human design, but also that we all need to work together, because the different types weren't made to be completely siloed from one another. They're meant to work with one another. So that's part of how ManiSisters came to be. The person on the right is my daughter. Her name's Izora. She is on the call today. She's a projector. And literally, I'm so lucky to have a projector to partner with. Together, she and I are here to revolutionize how women gain material security without exhausting themselves. And we help women business owners go from struggling to simply successful using human design. And we'll be launching the Human Design Business Accelerator towards the end of July, so look out for that. On this call, I'm not here to really sell you anything. I'm just here to talk to my sisters. Most of the people who are going to be on this call are women. If there's any people who are not women, you're welcome as well. I mean, I don't discriminate. I love to have everyone here. I just want you to know that this is how I see my daughter and I. Like Superwoman and Batgirl. Okay, we're out here, we're a dynamic duo, and this is, you know, this is what we do. All right, so finishing the start, we're going to cover a few concepts: ideas versus urges, why you don't finish, more about the motorized throat, because that is what it is to be a manifestor, is to have a motor connected to your throat by channels. You know, the idea factory idea and some other concepts related to that. What you can do today to get your finish mode activated, because I feel like there's been some lies told about how we don't finish things. And then I've got a couple of kind of case studies interspersed in here. So I promise it will be, like I said, I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly, and then we'll have a discussion. I really can't wait to open it up for discussion, because I love to hear from you guys. And, you know, I want us to all, you know, come away from this with our own perceptions. I'm not here to push my perceptions on you. I don't want to condition you. I'm really here just to open up the discussion, and maybe some open up more possibilities of how we can operate a little differently. All right. So this slide, does this seem familiar to any of you? And maybe what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and chat, I'm going to ask that we try to keep it to a minimum, but I really would like to hear from you guys. Does this look familiar to you? You get a whole crap ton of ideas, you start a project, start a new project, you tell people about it, and you completely circumvent finishing the project. Project doesn't get finished. This is something that's familiar to me, and it's familiar to a lot of people. In my own life, when I think about all of the things I've started versus all of the things I've finished, you know, it's probably 10% finished, 90% just kind of, like, you guys should see my garden box. I started a garden. I started a garden for the pandemic. I like calling it the pandemic because that makes it sound sweeter. The pandemic, I had a garden, and y'all, it is overgrown with whatever, plus tomato plants. Like, we get in tomato plants automatically, but I'm not out there doing any kind of gardening because that's over. Now, it's really interesting. If you can relate to that, you know, you put it in the chat, like, heck yeah, I relate to this. This is something that you know. And I'm here to tell you that this doesn't have to be our complete lives. Part of this is not necessarily a bad thing. There are benefits to not finishing projects. Like, you can just learn things along the way without so-called finishing or completing. But, you know, a lot of us have things that have come up that we really want to see happen, and we don't finish. And, you know, we're talking about that today. So I want to introduce a concept to you guys. What we're looking at here is an open well. This one I think is in India, and it's a, you know, it's big. So this open well, right? Anybody from the village can come down here, and they can get water from the well. And I want to pause and introduce this concept to you, because this is actually a representation of something else. I call it the well of ideas. Ideas are in the superconscious. They are in the mind, not just your mind. It's kind of hard for some people to believe, because it's so interesting that when you have an idea come into your mind, you're like, oh, this is my idea. In reality, that idea is not your idea. I'm willing to even say, to go as far as, there are no real original ideas. The ideas come into the well of ideas, and as they flow through different people, their execution and their interpretation changes, but the idea, the central part of it itself, is something that bubbles up for everyone, for anyone. Not for everyone, but for anyone. And so I want you to just, like, you know, contemplate the idea that ideas come into this centralized place, the mind, and that we all are actually able to access it. Many people are able to access what's in the well of ideas. Anyone can fish them out, but of course, the way, like, you know, we got two people right now in this picture. One of them might be using that water for drinking, and the other person might be using it for laundry, or for doing dishes, or for bathing the children. So how people will use the idea is what is different. The reason I wanted to bring that concept up is because math, y'all. Boom. But you didn't expect math. There's math here. No, it's not really going to be math. This is a math test. I'm going to need somebody to, no, there's no math test. These are all lies. The reason I'm showing you this is because this sexy, look, you guys see him? Oh my God. Did y'all know this is, listen, this is Isaac Newton. He is known broadly as the father of calculus. Yeah, Isaac Newton. Look, first of all, his hair is immaculate. Look at this guy. He's a hottie. Isaac Newton is known as the father of calculus. And it's really interesting because at the very same time, this guy, Gottfried Leibniz, was actually working on the exact same concept in a completely different place, right? So Isaac Newton was in England, and Leibniz was in Germany, and they were coming up to the same conclusions simultaneously. It's really through some marketing and the force of the British Empire that Isaac Newton came out on top. It isn't until literally this century that we're in that Leibniz has even been spoken of as like a co-founder of calculus, even though we use his notation for calculus. Now, I'm not trying to teach y'all math, but I just want you to understand that both of these guys got something out of the well of ideas simultaneously. Except we got one and the third guy. Now look at this sexy beast. Oh my gosh, this is Bhaskaracharya. 250 years before either of these knuckleheads were doing calculus, he had already figured calculus out. So what I want to just say is, you know, in a lot of ways, ideas don't have ownership. And so they kind of float around and they get picked up by people. And this guy on the right, you know, his name was really Bhaskara, but they put Charya on the end because he's great, right? He could be, you know, called the father of modern calculus, but no one calls him that. And they don't really say it about Leibniz until just recently. And then before then, it was Isaac Newton and his fantastic hair. Just trying to illustrate the fact that like ideas are just out in the air, as my sister Solange Knowles might say, they are cranes in the sky. It's just stuff flying by in all of our heads. Some of us are tuned in to catch certain things. Otherwise, some people, you know, just goes right past them. So let's talk about an idea versus an urge. Ideas are kind of this generic thing that came out of the well. Now, clearly, Leibniz and Isaac Newton had a hard-on for these ideas about calculus, and they followed those urges. I mean, they did massive amounts of work to bring these theories to clarity for other people. The idea is just the concept. You know, ideas are somewhat universal. The difference is urges tend to move the body, especially when we're talking about, especially manifestors. And I'm going to include manifesting generators here. They move your body. Now, when I say your body, if you were doing really deep intellectual work, that is moving your body because your brain is a part of your body and your brain uses up to 28% of your calories. So literally it's something that's going to require energy. Ideas don't necessarily require a lot of energy. Urges, on the other hand, do. Ideas are oftentimes just simply communicated while urges are acted upon, especially when you have this motorized throat. There's some other things about urges. I would say that an urge is something that will kind of bug you, won't leave you alone. It's gonna, you know, continue to nag at you. The really crazy thing is your mind can play tricks on you and have an idea do the same thing. So it's kind of hard to determine whether it's an idea or an urge, but this is when I say look at your body. Urges, again, are actions that we're doing. And for manifestors, once we are doing a thing and or have done a thing, even if it's the most ugly, rough draft first version of something, that's when, you know, informing begins to happen and we start to bring other people on board, if that makes sense. All right. If you have a motorized throat, this is manifesting generators and of course manifestors. Now I circled those three gates on the right. This is the throat center. I circled those three on the right, partially because those are the manifesting channels. I didn't circle the one that comes from the sacral to the throat, but imagine that as well. If you have those channels specifically, for sure, 100%, you're just, you know, it's going to the root or it's going to the ego, going to the solar plexus, and again, to the sacral for manifesting generators. If you have those, know 100% for sure that you are about that action. Now, simply having the motorized throat is also, I think, this is a theory of mine. So this is nowhere in canon, but I'm going to say this. If you have a motorized throat, you're about action. Otherwise, the throat center, if it's defined, is really about communication. It is communicating concepts. But when you have this action-oriented aura, when you have this action-oriented definition in your chart, you're about that action. And this is part of why, when I hear, I pay attention sometimes to the outside world. I try not to, and I'll tell y'all why. But I'll hear influencers and even, Ra Uhuru, the creator of the human design system, say things like, things about manifestors. Although we're not so-called sustainable workers, we are doers. And I think that it's one of those things that we have to be really careful that we're not misusing our throats for communication versus, I won't say it's a higher vibration of the energy. I'm going to say that it's more close to aligned with who we are in the world. We can use it for action. This is the center of manifestation and communication. But for us, because we're manifestors, we should lean towards the manifestation side. Sometimes, there's a time for talking, but there's also a time for doing and creating. So I'm so happy about this. This is a case study. So holy smokables. I'm going to introduce you to my friend Margot. Her name is Margot Bruner. She is a heavyweight in the cannabis industry. Literally, she has weed maps in her back pocket. She works for a company that is traded on the stock exchange in cannabis. She's been working in the cannabis industry for about 7 years. About 3 years ago, I started creating something I called a rosette. And it was literally organic roses. I would roll a joint with weed in it. and she was one of the first people I told about it, as a matter of fact. The first person I told was my friend Makiba, my very best Manifestor friend. And then this beautiful projector, I told her about it. Not only did I tell her about it, I literally was like giving them to her. She actually became known around the country as the woman with the rose joints because I was giving them to her. I don't think I ever sold one to her. I did sell them at an extraordinarily high price, guys. I mean, it was one of my forays into selling something for a lot that didn't cost me a lot to make. But, she loved them. It was about the experience. And that was kind of what I was trying to put forth. That's one of the things I'm good at. I love creating experiences. This is what I do. Anyway, in 2020, as the pandemic got started, she contacted me and she was like, you know what? Rosettes, I love them, but I don't like that they're handmade. Now, me personally, because I was the artist and I was the only one making them, and I hadn't trained anyone to do it. And I understand, as a projector, she's here to master a system. She's like, I want to know how to make that into something that can be mass produced. And so we workshopped it. I actually showed her someone who's already doing it. And she was like, I want to, she says that I science the shit out of things. I think that's hilarious. Like, I'm a 1-3. She's also a 1-3, but she says, oh, you science the shit out of things. I want to do it like you. I said, no. I said, you have weed maps in your pocket. You work at this company. You have distribution. You know all the people. You literally have the network to make this happen. As a matter of fact, the company she worked for owned huge greenhouses that they weren't growing weed in, but they used to grow flowers in. So she could literally start to get a place to grow the organic roses. Like, she could get vertical with this company. And I told, we workshopped a little bit. We talked about possible places to get these manufactured. And then she asked me if I wanted to be a part of this. She was ready to actually bring me aboard to be a part of it. I was exhausted, y'all. 2020 was my recovery year. Well, part of the first year of my recovery year. 2020 and half of 2021, I rested. 18 straight months, I needed it. So I told her, no, go on without me. And this is the product that she made. These are gorgeous. These are part of her Holy Smokables line. And Holy Smokables, I think she's up to 3 now. One is rose petals, another one is sage, and I can't remember the other one, but it's a kind of flower. So we had talked about all of that. She was like, I don't want to actually sell weed because I don't want to touch the plant. I don't want to have to rely on the plant production, but I just want to make something where people can stuff a cone. And so we came up with this complete idea. It was great, but I was done. Just in contrast, over here to the right, that was the product I had made back in 2017, 2018, which I stopped in 2018. Those were rosettes. Those were handmade. They were not made on a factory line. Everyone was handmade, hand packed. It was an amazing experience. I can't say that these two are comparable because I haven't had the Holy Smokes yet, but she's sending me some soon. I'm so excited. I don't know what I'm going to put in there because I don't even smoke weed anymore. It's so funny. I don't even do cannabis. Part of, knowing the difference between an idea and an urge. At the time when I got into cannabis, I was dating someone who was growing weed. Two someones. It's complicated. And I was hanging out with her. She dragged me to Denver to a conference. So I was really being highly influenced. I have 7 open centers by the people I was around. And those people were cannabis. And so I was doing cannabis genius shit just simply because I was around those people. This is part of the reason why, as manifestors, your alone time and your, separateness and apartness sometimes is very important, because how can you know what you want if you're picking up on all the stuff from the people around you? I don't regret it though, because I learned a lot of valuable lessons by making this particular product. And I'm learning a lot of lessons from watching my friend, a projector, scale, right? I just want to say there's a difference between yours and theirs. Even if someone takes an idea and copies it, differentiation is key. It's different. Like I said, I haven't had the Holy Smokable, but I can almost guarantee you that it has some similarities to the rosette, but it could not possibly be the same. And as a matter of fact, even part of what made that rosette so special was the cannabis that was being put inside. It was, organically grown, hand grown. It was something that I was very connected to at the time. So you're going to notice that there's going to be a difference. So even if someone does something that is your idea, is it really? Because the execution is going to be different depending on who it goes through, right? When you do it, especially you as a manifestor, it will be different and unique. Okay, it will be different and unique. So we're going to talk a little bit of business. Well, not real business, but closing cycles. Because I think this is really important, especially for manifestors. There's a concept I like to call anti-strategy, and it's not going to be up on this slide, but it's something I like to talk about. Anti-strategy is we are the polar opposite of a generator as a manifestor. And if generators are here to respond, we're actually not here to respond to outside stimulus. So oftentimes when we have uncompleted projects or things that are undone or unfinished, they are actually calling for our response. I've even noticed something as crazy as, I'm going to point this way. I have a huge whiteboard over here. And if I write something up on that whiteboard and I just leave it up there, literally my subconscious is picking up on there's something I have to do. There's something I have to do. It's up on the board. So I have, gotten to the point, and, my partner is a projector. We clear the board. We only put the things that we're currently working on the board. Other things get saved elsewhere, out of sight, out of mind. People call it back burner, but it's even better than a back burner. Imagine sticking something in the oven, like you can't see it. The back burner is still calling for your attention. It's really important. So anyway, when you have unfinished cycles, either, of course, it's unfinished or it's worse off than it was. One of my good examples about that is you want to rearrange and organize your closet. So you pull everything out of your closet. Now your bedroom's a mess. And the closet also is not functional, right? When you're in that state, I don't know about you, but it can be very anxiety driven, especially say if I got interrupted, say something happened like, oh, I pulled everything out and then an emergency comes up and I have to leave. When I come back, I'm coming back to this disarray. And it was really interesting because Zora said like, oh, I understand. You mean that every time I have to make a decision and step over something that shouldn't be in the middle of the floor or move things around so I can get to something else, then I'm actually, experiencing decision fatigue and actually leaking energy. So When we have unfinished cycles, we're leaking energy. We're going to procrastinate because honestly, at this point, you've had this emergency, it pulled you away. You're not coming in and taking care of this right now. Your energy has been scattered. Again, energy decreasing, no energy. And this also eats up your time. So I'm not saying don't reorganize the closet. I'm not even saying don't do it all in one go, because that's the way I would do it, like pull everything out and get it done. But part of it is like, how do you make sure that you don't get interrupted, right? That's one of the big things about being a manifestor, is that we're not here to be interrupted, right? Done. We love done, right? Because done frees up energy. It, can actually promote enthusiasm. It can make you more productive and it can free up your time. The paradox is doing takes energy, but it actually frees up energy, okay? Doing takes energy, but it frees up energy. So a lot of times people don't even start the start, guys, like damn finishing the start, starting the start, partially because they have this fear about their energy, right? I'm not going to be able to finish, and they understand, because this is hell. This part of being in the unfinished, worse, uncompleted cycle is hellish, and no one wants to be there. So a lot of it has to do with, do I go on or do I give up? The word decision comes from some Latin roots. Basically, it means to cut off. And, there's something I say, I quit like a winner, because although people tell you like, winners never quit, that's not true. Winners quit a lot of things. What things they quit are important, but quitting is actually a part of the strategy of success, and the strategy of peace, because that's our actual strategy, is to be peaceful. But literally, there's so many things you could just quit. It's not easy. It's sometimes counterintuitive, but you got to quit. So closing loop. So finishing isn't always completion. It's just about calling back your energy. So if you could commit to calling back your energy, what would that look like? Which means sometimes giving up dead in the middle of some shit you started that has nothing to do with anything you want to do anymore. What if you did that? Like, can I tell y'all, I ain't worried about that garden box. The manifesting generator I work with I live with right now, he just goes and trims it down. He's just like, what am I gonna do with it? And he's like, I'm starting to understand you. Good, because I'm not going to do anything with that box at all. Maybe next year, who knows? So the box still exists, it's there, but I don't even look at it as something that's calling my attention. I don't even go back there to look. And even when I look, I just look at it with detachment. So ideas, how do I handle ideas? I'm gonna tell you about these ideas. Recording your ideas with detachment. Y'all, I designed a whole apparel line. I don't care about apparel. I'm not trying to design a fashion line. It came to me. I just wrote it down in a book and let it go. Watch your body and your mind. What is your body trying to naturally do? What are you naturally, seeing and getting in your life versus what your mind is telling you should do? Should, ought to, and I hate to say it this way, y'all, but a lot of times when people are like super focused, oh, I want to make money, that can lead you in strange directions. It's mental and it's not self. Not that not self's not good. I'm gonna tell you something. Most money is made by not self. It's awesome, but you have to understand what road you're walking down and don't be consumed by it. You have to learn how to create joy in doing your thing. I've been kind of playing around with flow state. If you're not familiar, it's basically manipulating your body chemistry so that you are in this kind of timeless state where you can kind of get shit done without the suffering and pain of, oh my God, I'm doing shit. I'm doing things and I hate it. No, I do things and I love it, even down to chores and stuff that I used to actually not like a lot. I also play around with gamifying, like giving myself a limited amount of time to work on things, truncating my days. At this point, I work 4 days a week. a maximum of 4 hours a day. If I can't get it done in that amount of time, you know, every once in a while I'll do more, but I've actually prioritized some other stuff ahead of that. Getting support, super important. A lot of times people say, well, I did try to get support. Sometimes you're trying to get the wrong support. It's not about the support of getting someone to actually do the work with you or for you. It's about getting someone who can give you shortcuts, ways to finish without exhausting yourself. And even external ideas. Like today there was a reflector, and I know this is kind of off topic, but this reflector is like, hey, I hate using Canva and I need a flyer done. And I'm like, go to Fiverr and pay for it. Like literally, I'll pay for peace. I'll pay for peace. I don't have to do it all myself. I'll pay for peace. Using dates and timing to understand your commitment. Understand the throat center, this thing that we all have in common. Most of the people who are on this call have a defined throat center and it's motorized. We set the timing based on that being a fact, okay? Using dates and timing to understand your commitment. I'm not saying go make a commitment. I'm saying understand how committed your energy is. Where's your energy flowing naturally? And does it really, really want it? Or is it some kind of mental thing? I'll also say small steps in discipline. I know that's a dirty word, small steps. I mean, we're manifestors. We take gigantic leaps. We don't take small steps. Yeah, we do. Sometimes you got to take an itty bitty step just to get your peace. All right. So closing small cycles has a compound effect. This is the part where I'm going to show y'all a little something. I'm just going to drag this up here. Y'all get to see the. So I'm going to play a little video for you. Hold on for a second. Hold on. I'm going to make sure I am sharing the audio. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this.
Everybody knows about playing with dominoes, but what you may not know is that a domino can knock over another domino, which is about 1.5 times larger. So what I have here is a chain of dominoes. Each one is 1.5 times larger than the previous one. And the smallest domino is about 5 millimeters high and 1 millimeter thick. And I will carefully place it. And there are 13 dominoes, and the largest domino, it weighs about 100 pounds and is more than 1 meter tall. Ready? Boom.
All right. Hold on. Let me change my stuff around. All right. So that little video was just to show you that one, little steps, little things actually do matter. And also you can have a huge vision, but a lot of times it's these small intermediate steps that really make a difference. And I really got in touch with that just recently with something I was involved with. So here's a second case study. And again, like I said, we're getting close to the end of this and we're going to open it up for a discussion. Manifestor Women in the Woods is a retreat that I helped to plan. I was contacted by this lovely lady on the left. Her name's Angela. Angela contacted me. She's a 6'2" manifestor, and she's like, I have this beautiful place on the mountain. I host large groups of people up here all the time, and I want to have a whole bunch of manifestor women come and be here. And at first, she didn't contact me first. She came up with the idea. She set a date, which I'm going to tell you guys, I think that was really an important part of it, that she had a date and a place. A lot of times as manifestors, we have ideas, but we don't have dates and places. We don't have containers for ideas. An idea is nothing until it's in a container, until it has energy behind it. And there was energy behind this. So she contacts me and I'm like, oh, do tell me more. So we met up. And then this became me. Um, y'all, I had never, I won't say I've never planned a retreat. I planned a really tiny retreat that was relatively local. This was basically a destination retreat. We're talking about all the way in Colorado. I'm here in Michigan. I've got to fly in. I don't know what the heck's going on, but all I know is, one, I want to go to this because this has been something that if you're a manifestor and you're a woman, I don't know if you've been in any of these Facebook groups, you've had this discussion. We should get together. We should get together. I'm like, oh my God, it's never happened up till now, but we finally have a place and a time. She set the date. We were in January. She was like, yeah, June 9th. June 9th is when this is going to happen. And I could get on board with that. Why? Because it seemed concrete. Now, come to find out, love me some Angela. Angela didn't know anything much more about the mechanics of getting all these people together there, because usually I think her groups come in, they drive in, or they get there on their own. This was a whole nother beast. And this stretched me so far because it was a lot of working in the right now towards an envisioned future where there wasn't always the clearest of connections between the actions I was taking on any given day and that outcome, but they were 100% connected. You have to understand, when you're creating something and you're manifesting something, what's really happening is present you is doing something for future you, but these are not actually the same person. They're not the same person. And it was really interesting because what ended up happening and what was produced was this wonderful event. As you can see, all of these beautiful women gathered together. And if anybody had looked at the small things that I was doing, it might not have made sense. Every person in that photograph, with the exclusion of the two people who were facilitators, Nova and Angela, I spent 30 minutes on the phone with each of them, partially to find out if they were going to be a good fit, but also to find out what their expectations were and all of this stuff. So this goes into like marketing and sales, which wasn't something I felt strong at, even though, y'all, I have sold a lot of things in my, I've sold a lot of things. I usually like to find things that are easy to sell and I sell them. That's, how it's always worked. And it was really interesting because this was one of those things. It was easy to sell this because it was fantastic, but it also had a place, it had a date, it was concrete. And every step I took made it even more concrete. What really kept me on board and going was this enthusiasm. And it wasn't like I was drawing enthusiasm from the folks who were already signed up to come, because literally we were super quiet for months. This was a 6-month thing. Towards the last 3 to 4 weeks is when everything started to get really juicy. And I'm going to tell you a few things, like literally the first person that signed up for this didn't come. But she helped with the momentum of getting things going. So understand that even when you're going to create something, things are going to fall off, things are going to fall apart, things are going to not be perfect. This was not about perfection. This was about getting it done. And so we're kind of getting towards the end, and I just want to really talk about this gifting ideas. What I would really like to tell all of you with motorized throats, and don't take this the wrong way, it's because it's out of love, but y'all need to shut up. Be quiet. Literally, you don't have to talk about all your ideas. You don't. We do this partially because manifestors are trained, conditioned to want to feel useful and helpful. When the reality is, how many times have you tried to gift somebody an idea that would be perfect for them and they don't even want it? So I've actually gotten to the point now where I don't gift ideas. Anybody who knows me at this point, I've been into human design for about 7 years now, teaching it for close to 5 years. I used to be much more of a talker. I talked a lot more. I understand that talking quite frequently is an energetic leak. It's really interesting. People who don't have definition in their throat feel pressure to speak, but people who have defined throats, speaking and kind of giving energy. For what reason? I literally only give energy from my throat with reason nowadays. I talk so much less than I used to, which you can't tell because I'm over here talking. Anyway, so why I stopped gifting ideas. It's an energy link. People don't follow through, and I fucking hate it. They do it wrong. They're not doing my vision. They asked you for more energy, for more insight. So they're coming back. They don't give you credit. They don't include you, and they don't want it from you. They don't want it from you. They want this idea, but they didn't want it from you. Or they take the idea and they just don't want you. There's a lot more that goes along with this. But why I stopped gifting ideas is because I don't have to go to the well and get water for people. I have to trust that the well works, the well of ideas works, and ideas that are meant for people will get to them. And that I don't necessarily have to be the conduit for it. I'm a manifestor, I'm retired. And you don't have to, you don't have to. Yeah, y'all, that's, that's about it for me. Let me go ahead and turn it on. So I'm gonna make it so folks can unmute themselves. If you'd like to start video, I don't think, I have no more to do. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I'd like to share.
Hold up, stop sharing, y'all. So here I am. Thanks for staying around for my rant. I love y'all for coming. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I love y'all. But anyway, I just wanted to open it up for anybody. I got Talia. Yes, please.
Oh, Adrienne, oh my God. I needed this so bad. Thank you for doing it and heeding the call. I know I'm not alone. One of the things that I came here with kind of dissolved itself, and I'm laughing because it was a need I was feeling in the environment. And as I was listening to that, I felt a lot of the pressure leave. What's funny is it's still tied in with my purpose, but the pressure of jumping into action. And this, is something that the last few years, I feel like I'm a 4'6", I'm 33, so I'm going into the roof, and I've been watching myself. It's almost like I got my Pandora's box that I'm holding, and I'm visiting with my people and I'm talking and I'm hearing what's needed, but there's a level of part of me wants to, I'm impatient and I want to go, but part of me has some wisdom that there's, like you said, the container is not quite set yet. Or, I always picture a Rubik's Cube, like the people are still moving and things are still happening and the program has still got a few things it needs to do. But I can feel what comes up for me always. And this is what I'm working through and part of why I wanted to share. And I'm hoping, I'm open to receiving feedback. I can sense, and I've got a pretty heavily activated ego. What holds me right now is some fear of making sure I get my piece of that pie. I can see, I don't feel the need for ownership, but there's a level of recognition that I can feel. There's a level of, I'm also on this party boat. And I like the truth that you pointed out that I felt too humble to verbalize before was the vision needs to be a certain way. And there's a level of, maybe it's my gate 21 speaking. It's in my design moon. There's control. There's a level of, I feel like I need to be in control of how some of it moves. And I have 2 young kids. My energy is in a place of, I'm still renourishing myself, but the call is strong and it's getting stronger and I can see it building. And I'm kind of in this stuck space of, I need my community and I need my people. I'm a 4'6", 37, 40, in my nodes even. So it's very heavy on me of like, hey, you know, I can't do this alone. But I've been watching myself kind of spin in this zone of like action, inaction, kind of, I'm starting, but I'm still wavering. Yeah.
If I might, one, I would say, you know, we can change the narrative around the in-between spaces. In human design, I feel like there's a lot of very experienced people, but I'm going to explain things simply because there might be some people who are less experienced. There's a concept of Bardo. The concept of Bardo is brought up about the liminal space between life and death, but Bardo is this liminal space between any place, between action and non-action, between this present and that future. So you really bringing yourself into the space to feel okay in the limbo of the in-between places, because I had to sit down for 18 months, y'all. And it was very difficult for me to be okay with that, especially having been someone who was so complete, like so active and so go-getter and so manifesting things. And here I had to go and sit. And the reality was I had to sit because it was necessary to sit. And not being able to actually decipher the reason why, but just being there. And so literally being with yourself every day. And then I want to talk to that control. Gate 21. If you got gate 21 in your chart, I do. It's part of my incarnation cross. What I'll say about that is there is nothing wrong with wanting to control a vision. Because the people who execute their visions do exactly that. Now, the reality is, you know, there might be a gap or a delta between your vision and the reality, but when you have control, or when you're the one who is exerting the creative, I'll call it creative control, right? Because we're trying to aspire to this vision. This is part of the reason why a lot of times it's, you know, we're doing it alone, or there's a lot of spaces and places where we are letting go. Like when I planned that retreat with Angela, you know, I love Angela, but Angela hosts people at her land all the time. So literally in this particular equation, Angela was a chicken. Chickens lay eggs all the time. This is the egg that she lays all the time, inviting people to her property and hosting them. So she's got a lot of practice with that. On my side was selling the retreat and getting people to the location, which was something completely new to me, which meant, first of all, I was actually risking a lot. I was risking my own reputation. And so I kept control over that. What I had to do is trust her to do this other part. So a lot of times when we're working with other people, we have to trust them with their part. This is partly why manifestors are here. We inform people, but we also have to be informed. And being informed means knowing who you're working with. And knowing who you're working with, you know, how do you actually wrest control? You wrest control by setting the timing. When is it happening? Where is it happening? If you can't answer those two things, I don't know why you talk. I won't say I don't know why you're talking about it, but who are you talking to? Who are you talking to about the thing? Because unless you're talking to someone who can support you rather than someone who might want to do it without you, then you might be really wasting your energy. So it's really about, you know, I even if your timing falls through, literally setting the timing gives the energy of focus. And you know, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, control. I mean, I have it big in my chart, so I feel you on that. Y'all, I forgot to do a little something, so I'm gonna do really quickly. There were people who submitted questions before this, and I just want to go over them really quickly. So someone's like, you know, I've got kind of answers to some of these questions, but I would think this would be beneficial to the discussion. How do you get people to give us credit for ideas they originally rejected, but then adopted from us after some time, instead of just taking credit for themselves like it was their idea? You don't. Period. I want to see if anybody knows how to do that. How do you go to someone who heard your idea has completely wiped it out of their memories that they even got it from you and say, that was my idea, you got it from me. They'll stand in your face and be like, no, that's not what happened. And guess what? If they're a good, if they have a good company and they got a brand story, guess what? Their brand story does not include you. If you go to Margot's brand story, her story is not going to include me. I don't think it does. It could, but I don't think so. And it shouldn't, because she didn't execute my idea. She executed her version of the idea. And it's a hard road to hoe, guys. It's hard to make that, feel that. This person also says, how to be heard when people don't see what we see yet or feel threatened by our ideas. You're telling the wrong person. Informing is not just throwing information around. It's really about being situationally aware so that you're sharing with the right person. Angela, I don't know, man. She's pretty new to human design, but she sure did pick the right one. Because I was like, oh, it took a woman like you to say I could do it. I can host this. And it took a woman like me to step up and like hammer it down to make it happen. Okay. So literally, who are you telling? And then how should informing change when it comes to the topic of new ideas in order for us to benefit monetarily or reputation? I tell you what, I ask all kinds of people for social proof. Meaning, if I helped you, I need you to say something out loud. I had one person tell me, and I love this woman, it's a manifestor. I talked about you, but I didn't say your name. I was like, you didn't talk about me. Let people know it's okay to talk about you. Mention you. Ask them directly. And as a matter of fact, before you go spewing out ideas, how about you make some shit official? Like literally, Angela and I, we couldn't handshake. We were clearly a long distance from each other. But we went in as partners. It was very clear how the partnership was being run. Now, she had to get used to me because I'm all very left and she's pretty right, and it was just crazy. But that was what happened. So actually, I'm going to open it up. If anybody else wants to ask, then I'll go to the next question that was submitted before. Anybody else has anything to say or questions?
Hey, hi, Adrienne. It's Farika.
Hey, Farika.
Hi. I was just gonna comment. First of all, thank you for doing this. It's always nice to hear your perspective. And I think one of the best gifts that, like, related to that last question is the idea that I've been telling people, I'm like, I'm a fire starter. I just come in and light the fire and then I leave. Like, that's my job. And looking for people that are connected to whatever the fire start is, that can carry it through to the end. And that has been a gift to me, to allow myself to do that and to really watch other people kind of thrive in their zone of genius. Has been a lot of fun to play with within the last year. And I, like you, I was down for the count for like a good year and a half, and like, how is this ever going to come back together? And people are like, well, how have you been able to do it? I'm like, lots of naps. Lots of naps. And it seems counterintuitive, but it works. And it's hard to kind of retrain yourself, so to speak, or allow yourself to do that. And I think the idea of seasons in your life, right? There are just going to be times where you may have to dig a little bit deeper and do what is required. But like you said, like, what you're doing today is preparing something for your future self. I talk about, like, the clients I have today was because I was willing to take a job I didn't really want to take at the time. And I met one person, and that has turned into 3 referrals. Yeah. I couldn't have orchestrated that. And so I know a lot of times we're in conflict. We're like, I'm not supposed to work. I'm not supposed to do this. But sometimes it's for a season, and it's really in the willingness that the rest of what it is you desire begins to unfold. So that's my commentary for today.
I love that. I love that so much. I think that what you just said is so amazing. Like, the thing about people, someone's like, you know, Rosette, don't you feel bad about Mark? First of all, I love Margot. Margot, I watched that woman go through her Uranus opposition. That's between 38 and 42 for y'all that don't know. It was crazy. And I watched her bloom, and I watched her stay committed to making and carving out a place in an industry that was overwhelmingly white and male, which she had come from an overwhelmingly white male industry. She was in the automotive, she was in logistics and project planning. So, brilliant woman. And I watched her fight her way to make these connections. And I remember when she dragged me to Denver for a conference, and she introduced me to Max Montrose, who has moved on from cannabis and into psychedelics. This teeny little, he says like a slight little man, but he's so genius to me. And she just introduced him to me casually. And then the man sat with me for an hour and talked to me. And I was just like, who are you? What are you doing? And she was making those connections. So when I saw this happen, I didn't feel anything. I had already let it go. Cannabis wasn't for me, but it's really funny. Who knows? Now that I know all her connections, with she being informed, I have other stuff up my sleeve, because like she would say, I science the shit out of things. So I have some other products. Who knows what may occur in the future? So, like you said, just you never know what these steps may take you. So it's really about, again, a lot of letting go is happening here for me. All right, anybody else? And it's okay if not, I'll read another one of these questions. Just I don't know, stick your hand up or something if you want to say something, and that way I'll be able to see it. Unless, okay, cool. Okay, so someone asked about a child. And this is always a little spicy. So 9-year-old, 3'5", quad right splenic Manny, whoo, baby, with the 45-21. He's very money focused. I'm like, damn it, 9? Whew, that's the entrepreneurial spirit. Anyway, he's money focused, and a lot of his urges are to do with how to make money or materialistic things. He gets these fantastic, grandiose ideas, but becomes a bulldozer trying to follow them through, and is very quick to anger at the slightest resistance, and feels like the whole world is out to get him. He's a 3'5". Teach him human design. Get that baby. Let him. He needs to understand human design, because literally the 5 line out. My question is, how can I get through to him that sometimes we have these great ideas that come together slowly over time and be developed more. Sometimes we need to find the right people to help us. Honestly, you may not be the best person to tell him, partially because you're close to him as a family member, and 5 line, it's just a weird 5 line thing. But it might be, find a youth entrepreneurial group for him. He needs to learn, he needs to voluntarily learn about that by himself. He's a 3'5", you're not going to be able to teach him. I'm sorry to say, I feel so terrible. Like, it's not even, you can't even do it. Does that make sense? I don't even know if that person is here, but Lexi, I'm going to go ahead and go to you.
Hi, thanks for this.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Let me make sure everyone's muted. I'm going to mute you. Okay, there you go. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Wow, this is the first time I speak out loud today. Yeah. There was a part where you were speaking. I think what I heard was you were making, or kind of moving into the realms of speaking about the distinction between people who will support you and people who, the intention, people who are there to support you versus people who are there to take your idea and do it without you. And I would love to hear more around that topic from you or whoever has something around that.
I'm gonna say one thing, like, so I mean, what inspired this was something that happened, and I'm not talking directly about that because I don't not love those people and I don't want to really alienate them, but I also want to fight their faces. Literally, you'll have people who, okay, this is the reality. We as manifestors, we're not here to respond, but generators are. If I told you that you're talking to a generator, you as a manifestor, when you're in communication and contact with a generator, it's really awesome if you can start to watch the splenic energy. I mean, not splenic, the sacral energy. The sacral opens and closes, right? When it's open, it will respond to you. When it closes, there's no response. If you're talking to a generator and they're giving you they got the dead face, you don't hear no it's energetically dead. They're listening, which means they're absorbing and enveloping this, but they are not willing to give you energy. We really have to start to understand that when you're talking to someone, watch the energy. Now, if I were talking to a projector, because projectors, I mean, people have said, projectors will come and steal your shit, probably because projectors, I've kind of given names, new names for the types in business. Like Marika mentioned fire starter, and that's what I'm looking at my board, fire starter, but projectors are scalers. They can take something and they can blossom it out, 10x it. They can 10x it. So literally, unless you're going to partner with that projector, I mean, go make it official, get it in writing. Like literally, I had to birth my projector. I feel pretty safe. But if I'm going to talk to someone, I mean, I will go as far as if it was something super juicy, I really felt confident about it or whatever, go as far as to do an NDA and a non-compete clause. Like, don't play. It's okay to go legal on people. If that's not your thing, fine. You can cowboy it out here. But I would say you have to really be mindful of the energy that you're receiving back, what's happening in the exchange. And you don't have to tell details. There's a video out on YouTube that I made that I can really briefly tell you. If I want to tell somebody about something I'm doing, who, what, and where is about all I'm going to tell you. What is good enough? How and why? That's privileged information. Why are we talking about that? We're not, why are we, so I think that's one of those things where we have confused informing with throwing information around. And when we do that, we end up giving away the juice, not to mention that, we're using the throat for talking versus, creating those containers, defining that stuff. You literally have the powers right here. And the fact that this is the first time you spoke all day. You're a role model. we should, I want to be more like Lexi, where I, don't talk. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, that opened up in some really juicy, beautiful information. Appreciate it.
Cool. I'm gonna go to Angela now. Hello, Angela. I've got.
Oh, her microphone has decided not to work.
Oh, your mic is not working. Well, okay, Angela, do you mind typing your question? What we'll do is we'll go to Alyssa and then we'll come back to you. If you want to type your question, we'll definitely answer it, okay?
Hi, Adrienne. Thanks for doing this today. Going back to really earlier in your presentation, you highlighted the right 3 channels or gates of the throat. Can you elaborate a little bit more? I have the 20 gate activated and creating a channel that goes from my solar plexus to ego to G and then to my throat. So I don't have direct solar plexus to throat channel. How is that influencing the urge that I feel?
Ooh, that's good. So here's the thing. So some manifestors are built with those manifesting channels directly, and then some have indirect, which means you have a lot of projected channels. I guess the first layer, because I love human design because it's built like an onion, right? It's got layers. At the outer layer is aura. And I think that aura is super important in how this energetically plays out. So what happens on the internal workings, like what you see every day, is much more based on those channels. But we got to start at the top level, which is about the aura. And our auras are here. We're not here to respond. I like to start with that. Anti-strategy is my favorite thing because it's you're not here to respond. But we've got this closed aura, and I would say it's almost obscuring aura because there's a delicate process happening inside. Delicate process is that the urges are coming up from there. What I would like to say about people who don't have, say, the manifesting channels is you're still here to act, because we've been told that, what is the manifestor strategy is informing before acting. Well, acting is the real strategy. Informing is the made up piece. So action is what you're here for. I don't think it matters how you're made up. What I do think is that you act, and then there's almost invitational energy around those things that you've produced, or this thing that you've manifested, this container, whatever it is. So say if you were creating a class, you would create the concept of the class, set a time for it, and then invitationally people are coming to it, you know, to accept it or not, or inviting you to come and share that, right? You say, oh yeah, I did a thing. Maybe you made a video and people loved it. Someone says, well, I want you to come to my event and speak about that. You know, it almost is like you will get though that kind of invitation energy, but you're still a manifestor. So acting comes first, and acting on, when I say urges, again, it's where that energy flows. Your body will, literally, I will wake up jumping out of bed to go do stuff for this retreat, y'all. It was really pathetic. I was like, this is adorable. Look at me go. I was so excited every day. I was like, every day? And then, but I also had 3 days a week off, like straight. So I was like, not those days. But even sometimes those days, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna watch a video that teaches me something, or I'm gonna read something that teaches me something, and I'm not gonna go do anything. Because that worked for me. So I would say, again, action, and then after the action, the invitational kind of energy might be experienced. But action is your number one thing. That's your aura. That's how you're built. You're built with this hard shell and this beautiful, you know, they call it, I like this concept of a hollow bone. It's a way to transmit ideas from the ether out into the world. But this is more than ideas. This is something that is birthing through you, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than something that, even just something you do, it's birthing through you.
That makes a lot of sense in my situation. So thank you so much for that.
Okay, cool. Oh, wait, so let me see, did we get, all right, so listen, I'm gonna read Angela's question. Just wanted to add, okay, we can be firecrackers, we can also be fairies. You're right. I feel like I'm delicate. I'm a delicate flower. Like I got this crispy, crusty, hard edge on the outside, but I'm soft on the inside. And you can be fairy, just spreading a little here and there, and you absolutely can do that. I think that if you are an idea factory, right? Sometimes you can sprinkle. And then sometimes when people want a more in-depth thing, you hang out your shingle as an idea factory and charge them an hourly rate. Why are we scared of that? I've done it. I do it. People pay. You know why they pay? Because your time is valuable. And especially as a manifestor, oh my goodness. Anyway, sometimes the impact is supposed to be tiny. Also, I feel as though I've been a manifestor specifically for people to meet each other. Had a friendship with 2 different girls in high school. The one different one, okay, they didn't want to have anything to do with each other. They're friends. Oh, wait, let's see. Spending and being forced to be with each other 30 plus years later, they are so close, it's not funny. And I'm not close friends with either. Nothing bad, just growing apart. And I love that. Honey, I got the exact same story. Like literally, my 2 best friends from high school are like super besties of a projector and a generator, and not me. I don't feel nothing about it. I do not at all. I feel fine because I'm like, I love my life and I like how I am. Greta, this is how do I read? Okay, I see your hand. Alexandra, I'm gonna have you unmute, ma'am.
Okay, hello. So I kind of wanted to piggyback on the previous woman. I don't remember her name, I'm sorry. But I have the 35 and the 45, and my 35 is all the way to my 36. And so it's completely closed and it's just there. And so I think that's the one of transitoriness. Transitoriness. And I'm kind of wondering how that, like, getting you into a different destination can work in the action, mindset of like, we're here to act and move and, birth things through us, and how conceptually, how do I take a person from here to there without actually physically taking them from here to there? Does that make sense?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you, we got the master of that on the line, Nova. She was our guest facilitator at the Manifestor Women in the Woods. Now let me tell you about, this is what I experienced of Nova. The 3536 is transitoriness, but it's about experience. And so taking someone from here to there, and it depends on a lot of other stuff that's in your chart. What I will tell you is literally just being in her aura is an experience of going somewhere, right? You ain't taking nobody anywhere. You ain't got to pick them up and move them. You literally she just sits there, and it's a journey that has more to do with energy versus than actual experiences. Now, not to say she doesn't go places and have experiences, because Nova is a mover. She moves around. You know, she's going to go all over the world doing what she does with people. So that 3536 it's transmitting the experience. Sometimes, depending on how your chart is actually laid out, this could be verbally, this could be oracally, energetically, this could be leading people around, who knows? But it just kind of closing in on it being experiencing. And if Nova has anything to say, I would love to hear it.
Yes, absolutely. It's so funny because I had posted in the chat, like, I don't feel the need to talk. I'm just ready to act. And then I heard her talking. I'm like, okay, never mind. I got something to say. Psych. Unconscious throat, y'all. Okay, so I have the 3635 channel. I have 2 more channels that come after that that are part of what we call the experiential way. Okay, so I have 3 channels that are all a part of like sharing my experiences. The 3635 is the channel of having the experiences. And that is my only manifestor channel. My other 4 channels are projected channels. So my projected channels do best when they're invited, in a sense, like people will be, you know, I feel recognized, really is what it is. I feel recognized and I feel invitation energy. They don't have to verbally invite, but if I feel it, then I can just start talking and it works. But my, the tribal ones are a little different, but whatever. Anyway, point is that my 3635 is my only manifestor channel. And so with that one, I can just act. Like I can just inform and move, inform and move. The other thing that I notice that happens with that, because it is an emotional channel, is that when I'm feeling myself stuck in an emotional place and I need to like move the energy, if I start talking it out, it helps. So for me, I make audios for myself a lot just so I can move that energy out. I don't need anybody else to, you know, I don't need anybody's input or feedback or whatever. I just need to move the energy. I used to do a lot of it on Facebook, typing up Facebook posts, but I don't do that now. For me, it's really about talking, mostly because that channel is also an unconscious channel. I really need to move my, you know, move the energy with my body, not like my mind trying to find words. So when we're, you know, with that 3635, that's where we can initiate having experiences, whatever the experiences are. It can be, I mean, I have moved some shit to have some incredible experiences. And I'm tribal, so I'm grateful for my tribe, like Adrienne so much, has made so many of my experiences possible. So I have the tribal channels also, but that channel is a collective channel. It's here for having experiences and sharing them. And I'm curious if that was helpful for you.
Yes, it was so super duper helpful. And I the only manifestor that I've known in my life, and then now that I know I am, I've like came across bits and pieces of them, and because I can tell they are. And but it was funny that you said that you make voice notes for yourself, and I see all the comments popping up that say that they do too, because for years I've just made videos of myself just like that's like what my whole entire YouTube channel is. So it brings a lot of clarity. It brings a lot of clarity.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I love that.
So
Thank
grateful.
you. Thank you so much, Nova, because Nova, y'all don't understand. She's a magical person, and her presence. And that's the thing about all manifestors. We have the ability to have a presence that will it impacts. It's, with Nova, because of the way she's built, it's a very holding presence. With me, it's very, because how the way I'm built. And just being able to be an acceptance of that, and then the appreciation of how another is, and not trying to emulate or be that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Greta now. Greta? Oh yeah, we got you. Okay, good.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. So I've been trying to sort of conceptualize, figure out what my sort of questions were. So I apologize if these don't really come out as questions. But I've been trying to figure out, like, what is my main kind of sort of fear issue around this whole, starting things, getting them out into the world kind of thing. And I pinned down two things. And one is my own inner changing motivations. That's sort of a thing that's like, it feels like that it's always, I'm scared of the, like, always like that I won't have the energy to, if I lose my interest, it's done, right? And usually I want to birth like big things. Like they're usually like these really big concepts that I'm really like super tied to. So they don't just feel like this little flash in the pan thing that needs to be completed. They're usually like big things. So if I lose the motivation, it's like poof, gone, time and energy gone. So there's that sort of fear, if you will, of my own inner changing motivation. And then also sort of just external life circumstances, and I really don't want to feel like this, sort of like victim of my circumstance kind of thing. But for example, it's just I've gone through so much upheaval, like in the last year, for example, like moved 3 times, divorce, small child, just so much, and just trying to rest and decondition during all of that, and sickness, things like that. So there's those two things, that stop me from, like, when I have these just like these burning projects sitting there, so that's not, I don't know if that's really like a question, but.
So what I'm going to say to you, Greta, which I'm going to say, especially I'm fresh off this retreat, y'all. We were 20 Manifestor women up on a mountain. There is so much juice that came out of this. And let me tell you, we need support. Quite often, the reason why something seems so giant to you, and I showed y'all that little crazy domino video. Apparently, I didn't know that was a meme. It's very, my daughter's like, welcome to meme culture, mom. The tiniest little thing can make the biggest domino fall. So I won't say I don't care how big your dream is. Your dream can be gigantic. And that's one of the things I've studied just recently is people who had really big dreams and how did they get those big dreams to happen? And it's really about, it's these small micro things. What if there was, just a small period of time, 15 minutes every day. Now, I'm not gonna say every day, because even I don't do anything every day. I swear I do not. So small amounts of time, especially in Manifestor time, y'all don't understand how powerful y'all are. I don't think we understand exactly how powerful we are sometimes. How very little of our time, energy, effort it takes to get the dominoes to fall. So it's really about starting to break a big thing down into a small thing. But a lot of times when we're dealing with external circumstances and life is coming at us fast, and you moved a lot, all of these things are happening, there's almost this energetic exhaustion. And the only way that we can sometimes, combat that is actually to get support. And it's not just support of, oh, this is someone who knows how to get this business thing done. It's really about sometimes someone who just understands, someone who can be, an emotional support in some ways, to be there to rally with you even when the times are hard. Y'all don't understand. So last week was the retreat, right? 2 weeks ago, something like that. It was a little bit ago. But I came home to a issue in my own household. I've been sleeping a lot. because I have to, because I just needed to correct myself after having a very stressful event happen, which I was expecting. I'm like, listen, you go to one of these retreats, what happens during the integration period? It's a lot that happens. And I literally was, even to a certain degree, scared about this presentation, because I purposefully made this presentation almost 2 weeks after I was coming back from this retreat so I could be free and clear. But then life happened. This is part of the reason why, as manifestors, one, we require spaciousness, but we also need support. Like when I say spaciousness, I don't fill my calendar up typically. You know, I put these limitations because I care about my energy. You know, I do things like you have a small child, and I know that's a little bit different, but I'm in the bed most of the time at a certain time. When I'm stressed out, I don't go to bed at the right time. I haven't gone to bed at the right time in the last few days. I'm doing everything in my power to get back to it. Someone asked me, I'm actually going to do this, because someone was asking me about deconditioning my root, because that's what's happening. I have an undefined root. So when I have a stressful situation, my root center goes haywire. Okay, so I now know how to address that, and I address it through some Taoist techniques. I had a Taoist class earlier this year, and they taught me some things, and literally it corrected me. So all I'm doing now is caring for what is immediately necessary with my body, but also fulfilling and meeting the obligation to my dream. Because gathering manifestor women, and particularly just gathering women in general, but manifestor women is where I started. Gathering manifestor women and having conversations like this is what I was living, what I live for. I love this. So literally all I'm doing is I'm doing these two things. I do not juggle anymore. I hold two things, my body and my dream. And that's pretty much all I do, just those two things. And I really have learned how to relax around all the rest of the stuff, and doing less, simplifying my life, getting rid of stuff. Like, y'all, I don't know what I'm gonna be wearing, but it's probably gonna be one outfit. When y'all see me show up and it's like, damn, Adrienne's wearing that again, who knows what's gonna happen. I'm trying to simplify so much so that I can let my energy be focused and do what I really care about. I don't actually care about all this other stuff. So support. And if you need support, we can be here for you. And that's kind of what I'm trying. I think that's the next level, is much more of this, and not just these conversations, but the retreat showed me something different. We need to see each other and touch each other and be amongst each other, because something happened with that. Yeah. I hope that answered. I'm sorry if that wasn't a real good answer, because I know though,
No, it's true. It's true. But I've also been thinking, I mean, a lot of what you said also had me thinking about priorities, just, because it's all about managing energy. And even if, no matter what's going on from the outside, if there's a lot going on the outside, you really do have to prioritize, right? We're forced to be masters of prioritization. So no matter what's going on the outside. So I keep thinking to myself, do I maybe pause on taking clients for a while so I can work on the big project? That's the kind of mind thing that goes back and forth. Is this correct for me to take this client project that's coming? Or do I put everything on hold, which doesn't seem to make sense from the mind, so that I can fulfill this big project that I've been trying to birth instead, even though it's less sort of immediate financial, it's more of a risk, if you will.
I understand. So yeah, it's the difference between what is urgent and what is important.
Yeah, exactly.
And urgency is typically, I think, a lot of times, I don't know, I hate to say it this way, it's fake. A lot of it's fake. A lot of it is urgent because of, the shoulds of the mind, the shoulds of society. And I understand that you're having to balance some things. It might even be about, it could be taking less clients and just allocating more time. And this is why it's important to have, like I said, people that can support you and talk to you. or
Mhm.
you know, speak with you. And so I don't know. I'm gonna try to figure out. I got a noodle on it. Like, what will be the container and how will that look? Because I do think that we especially people who are running businesses, which I'm going to say a lot of the people on this call run their own businesses. And then we're manifestors and we're getting this advice from people who aren't manifestors. So what eventually happens is there is a mismatch on how it's going to work for us. And
Yeah.
what if we could, you know, come together to be able to, you know, correct some of the, like, get the same outcome, but do it the manifestor way. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Adrienne.
Thank you. Okay, Nova. Hey, Nova.
Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what button to push. Okay, anyway. So yeah, along that same vein, Greta, I was thinking about when we were at the Manifestor Women Retreat, and I remember realizing how many of us had defined egos there. Like more than half of us had a defined ego, which is, you know, disproportionate to the general population. And I remember feeling into myself and feeling like how my defined ego is what got me to that experience, to the retreat. Because for me, like nothing was gonna stop me from getting there. Like it was absolutely my defined ego that made, well, and Adrienne, that made that happen. You know, like getting there was, you know, I mean, yeah, like my will was engaged, right? And I didn't get defined ego, so I wanted to mention that. I don't know if my grandson's crying. So, oh my gosh. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go because my grandson is.
Well, I'll just say this: the defined ego. But you know, roughly half of the people didn't have defined egos, and they got there too. What I will say is, I think enthusiasm is the birthright of all of us. And a lot of the times when what I'm talking about, what I'm teaching, I am teaching and talking from my not self. But the not self is where we gain wisdom. I have 7 open centers. So apparently I had a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn in this lifetime, and I will share as much as I can. And that's part of that prioritization. Even if you look at my chart, I don't have it naturally. I don't know what to focus on naturally. I've had to learn the hard way. For any of you who are familiar, in my undefined root, I have the gate 52, and I have undefined sacral, of course, and I don't have, of course, any definition in gate 9. Gate 9 is one of those focus gates. It's a gate of, being able to, my daughter has it, so I call it when we're in the office together, I call it the focus zone. We focus, I can focus and she can be, it's perfect. What I'm finding though is, what am I focusing on? You know, there's so many things I've done in the last few months to be able to accomplish what I was able to accomplish. One of those things was I removed social media from all of my devices except for my computer. If I'm at my desk, I can access social media, but I don't let it intrude upon me. And I did that on purpose because I found myself, like, I'm a cross of tension. My undefined parts are the 39 and the 38. And I just would find reasons to fight online. Just to let y'all know what my hobby is. It's fighting. I fight online. I would. And I was like, oh, this is taking energy away from what I really want to do. I don't want to fight online. It's not the reputation I want. Tori Rogers, yeah, girl, yes. That's not the reputation I want. And it's not getting me closer to my goal. Like literally, for the 15 minutes I spent typing out that dissertation, probably about to some man I was mad at, that's me typing. That 15 minutes could have been spent doing any other thing, and I'm finally becoming wise about it. Like I'm growing up. And I think that that's part of the wisdom of openness, is that we do get to gain wisdom. And so when I tell people, oh yeah, focus, like, what are you focusing on? I can't condition you in that way. Literally, this is my conditioning talking. And my conditioning or my reconditioning is telling me I don't get to focus on everything. But when I do get locked in on something that's delicious and right for me, I experience timelessness, which to a manifestor is like manna. when you can get into the timelessness, not being tired, not, oh my God, getting enough sleep, but also just seem like you can move a mountain in 15 minutes, just some wild shit. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I'm in the wild place zone. It's just, time doesn't really matter to me anymore. Yeah.
If I can take a moment, I finally got my grandson settled back down. I love that because it kind of fits in really well with what I was kind of getting at also, no surprise, as we do. But yeah, coming back to what you were saying about like wearing the same outfit and whatever, like for the past 7 years, I had for like 3-4 years or whatever. Actually, it was more than that. It's been like 9 or 10 years. But anyway, for like half of that, I had like one outfit that I wore. It was like these certain capris. I had like 10 pairs of them, same exact whack capris, and like 10 different colored tank tops. And that was it. I wore the same thing every day. Somebody said I was like a cartoon character because I just wore like the same, same thing, different top, different color top. And then I had, after that, I had another outfit that I just always wore. There's all these ways that I have done this to preserve my energy, like you were talking about power leaks, right? When I came back from the Manifestor Women Retreat, so in alignment with what Manifestor energy was and where I wanted to put my energy again, so many things that I thought I wanted to do fell away. I was like, nope, I am so clear now that is not a priority to me. And I just let so many things go. And I have certain things that are a priority to me and they are happening. So one of them is the Manifestor, no, sorry, I just want to do everything Manifestor now, is the Human Design Mexico event, right? Or experience. So when I was down there, I felt it moving through me, right? I felt it moving through me. I've come back up here. I've had a lot of things to get through to get to that, back into that energy, but it's like, it never goes away, right? Like there's this fear of like, in the past of like, oh, I might lose interest and not do that thing anymore. But like this never goes away because it is birthing through me. It's not something I'm trying to make happen, right? So there's this other thing that I had this realization around the defined ego. Again, it's like, well, especially for me, my ego is unconscious. So I don't have like always like a conscious access to it, but it's like, I can feel in my body when my body is, ooh, I just tried to read that chat and I lost it for a second. Oh, when my body is committed to something, right? When my body is, there is nothing that I can do to start or stop it. Like it just moves through me. I mean, I can like get out of my own way and allow it to move. But yeah, when we have that commitment, like, yeah. And as we refine it over and over, hold on, there was a comment. Can you share tips on reentering creative cycle after a long rest? I don't know if that was for me or.
Probably for me, because I will.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, re-entering creative cycles and addition. Okay. What I would say is this. First of all, if you had to go into a long rest cycle, it was probably because, in some way or another. And I hate to, I don't want to say it this way because I don't feel like we do this on purpose. We don't abuse, we don't abuse our energy on purpose. We abuse our energy because we've been conditioned improperly, and it's not our fault. So it's not anyone's fault, but usually you need a long rest cycle because you've been thrown into a situation that really misused your energy. So whether we did it or, circumstances did it, we have taken ourselves into energetic debt. And that was what my Taoist teacher taught me. He was like, yes, you are in energy debt. And I'm like, what? I mean, what? He was French. He had the cutest accent. Anyway, and so I was telling him, I'm like, oh, I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I couldn't rest well because the quality of rest goes really down when you've gone into energetic debt. So a lot of it has to do with actually just recovering from energetic debt. And I would say, first of all, is allowing yourself a lot of grace. And Barika mentioned a lot of naps. Like I do not fight the urge to sleep. If I'm tired, I go to sleep. Before I'm tired, I try. But if I feel a hint of my energy kind of backing down, I get off of whatever I'm doing. I'll stop. And this is partly why I really give myself these limited work cycles. And when I say limited work cycles, like for me, I work in 45-minute blocks max. So I get as much as I can do in 45 minutes, and then I go and do something else, not useful either. Like I go for a walk, or I go lay down, or go get a snack, or do something else. So I think a lot of it has to do with really becoming a good steward of your energy. So re-entering the creative cycle first starts with being a good steward of your energy. And then, being gentle with yourself. And then I use notebooks, but Nova was mentioning like voice memos, which I've gotten into voice memos. Let me tell you, some fire comes out the voice memo. Define ego. I should have been doing a voice memo. I didn't realize it, but doing a voice memo is so awesome because it really allows you to get things out, whether you go back to listen to them or not. But some of these are going to be ideas for things later. So being able to record the things that are coming through you, like I said, with detachment, everything that comes through you is not something for you to do. But it's almost like, a brainstorm session, right? You might have, 50 ideas come out, but 1 or 2 of them are things that like keep calling to you, that you resonate over and over again with you. And when that happens, then you move forward, and you move forward. I'm my only channel is a 2145. So I'm kind of like a project manager by nature. Doesn't mean I'm great at it all the time, but I know how to put things together. And I start disassembling things. I take it apart. What's really the first thing I got to do? What's the next thing? And if I don't know, maybe I go find out. And if I go find out, I have my ways. I'm a 1-3, so I do it my way. But if you're like, say, a 4-6, you might go talk to someone. Come talk to me. Come talk, go talk to someone. It might be time to start outlining what the steps might look like to get to what they call an MVP. Like for me, I'm always making products. So a minimum viable product. Like what's the least sophisticated working version of this that you can make? That's where I go. I go for the least. Listen, y'all should have seen the first rosette. First rosette was a hot ass mess. I didn't let it cure long enough, but I took my friend out to a park and we smoked and walked. And she was like, "This is amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And it only got amazinger. Took me about 60 days, many iterations, me just playing around before it became a much more polished product. So anyway, y'all. Okay, so if anybody else have anything to say, if not, I would love to see all of your beautiful faces if possible. If everybody could just turn on their cameras, because I think we're almost to the point where I think we're at the end. If anybody else has anything to say, please do. But I want to go ahead and wrap it up and thank y'all all for being here. And if you get questions afterwards, because listen, y'all, emotional authority, y'all sometimes have questions after. That's my favorite. Not come back here, but ask the question somewhere and we'll get to it. This will be something, and I don't know, I'm not really sure what the next thing might look like. I do these things and then you won't hear from me for 6 months and they're like, damn, I thought she was gonna be doing this more frequently. I feel like this is something I gotta get back into, but I'm not making a commitment quite yet because I'm very non-committal. This defiant ego, I don't say yes to a lot. But anyway, love y'all. Anything? Oh wait, I wanted to be all struggle to get started because I wanted to be all figured out. Man, I didn't have any idea how anything was going to happen. Literally, I have no awareness centers in my chart. None of them are defined. So I literally have resigned myself to walking like I'm walking with a blindfold. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just like blindfolded and just go stepping. Anyway, all right. So I guess we're gonna wrap this up. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for showing up. And if you have any questions, you can definitely send a message to me. And we'll be in touch. All right. Peace. Bye, y'all.